for the channeling, to allow ourselves to become fully here, fully present, fully awake within this version of reality, this present moment. Let's take a few breaths in presence, in knowingness and awareness, as we gently extricate ourselves from the thinking mind and bring ourselves into spaciousness, existence, the feeling of existence, the knowing of existence, the simple I am, I exist presence. Allowing ourselves to detach, to let go of all the various thought streams that tend to occupy our minds, feeling ourselves giving way to pure consciousness. Feeling that deep stillness that always abides within us, regardless of how many experiences appear to be passing by on the surface. Like the depth of the oceans or a very deep lake, undisturbed by the motions on the surface of the waters. Allowing ourselves to dive deeper into ourselves, into the various layers of consciousness, whereby we can facilitate our own connections to our own higher minds and beyond, into the multi-dimensions. Good day to you. We welcome you to these realms of light, where the vast majorities of who you are also exist. We welcome you to these realms of light from where your physical lives, your physical personalities, and your entire physical world also spring. You are a being that perceives yourself to be this finite being, and yet you exist within a much vaster beingness, which in turn exists within an even vaster beingness, which in turn exists within an even vaster beingness, all the way to the all that is. So you are all that is, having the experience of yourself as a finite portion of itself, existing within itself. And you have convinced yourselves that you are this finite point in time and space, moving through a time-space reality, to the point where almost all doorways have been closed, apparently. That is the experience. But for a few bleed-throughs in your dream states, a few hints here and there. But you have done an exquisite job in veiling yourselves from yourselves in the various layers of consciousness from which you spring. They have become mostly invisible as you honed your frequency to the fine-tunement of physical consciousness, physicalized, crystallized consciousness that you perceive yourselves to be. And now you are on a journey of reawakening, reconnecting to yourselves layer by layer, realizing that you are the dimension you previously thought you existed within. Thusly, each time you realize that you awaken, each realization, you realize you are the dimension that you previously considered yourself to be merely passing through. Thusly, your physical reality is a crystallization of yourselves. It is a reflective mirror. It is you. You are traveling through yourselves. So this is the realization that you are not only yourself traveling upon the path, but you are the path. And you are the experiences. and you are so much more than them at the same time. So you are here experiencing this exquisite focus, and you are here extricating yourselves. Thusly, all the experiences that you have been having as you pass through the eye of the needle are designed to help you to awaken. And each moment, each situation, each circumstance is there to trigger within you a kind of awakening. Now you can always buy into the various stories and the various negative beliefs that you have bought into, thusly perpetuating this sense of disillusionment and disconnection and fragmentation and compartmentalization. You have every right and every possibility to remain in this segregative state. You are given that freedom because you are unconditionally loved. Thusly, you get to decide what experience you will be choosing. However, the theme of exploration, especially within this cohort that is very much interested in the spiritual arts, is about transformation and awakening. So your consciousness is longing to be released because that is the themes, those are the themes that you have chosen to experience at this time. Thusly, holding on to the negativity will continue to increase in tension, for you can no longer hold on to that which previously was something you could hold on to or sweep under the rug or avoid. Those issues can no longer be avoided because they are contrary to the theme of exploration you have chosen. Now you have still the free will, you can override this to some degree, but your free will at another level has already chosen to go through the process of awakening. So embrace that process and realize that when you feel tightness and you feel stuckness in your lives, it is because you yourselves are choosing to hold on to negative beliefs, and you are causing the constraint. And you are the reason for the perception and experience of blockages and tightnesses. So this session is very much about putting the responsibility squarely in your hands, because that is the gift that you are given. That is the promise of your existence, as it were. And you have that ability, and you are awakening to that responsibility, the ability to respond to your environment in either positive or negative or neutral ways. So we wish to impart this upon you, this degree of responsibility, for nothing external truly happens to you without you acquiescing to it on some level. Now you are fragmented beings by the very nature of the theme of exploration upon your planet that has been going for, colloquially speaking, thousands of years and many generations. But you are breaking out of that. And it is your responsibility to transform those limitations that have been handed down unconsciously into consciousness. And as you defragment yourselves, you will then come face to face with the many negative beliefs that you have been harboring in attics and basements and closets and all kinds of compartments. It is as if you're taking the walls out of your house and realizing that you're not simply in one room at a time, but realizing that all rooms exist simultaneously, including those rooms that you've been stuffing all the various negative experiences into, hoping that you can avoid them and numb yourselves from them, separate yourselves from them. But that is not nearly as possible as it was before, because of the theme of exploration that you have with your free will chosen at other levels, other portions of your beingness. Thusly, it is no accident that we are having this particular session, as we are reflective of your higher minds, to communicate to your physical mind portions that it is the timing now to really dig in and open all the doorways, because those walls, they are themselves dissolving. This is the time, the eye of the needle, the passageway, as you can imagine, is quite thin. And it is thin in the sense that only your true vibration, only your core self can pass through, and all the baggages of all the generations must be left behind. You will experience a tremendous letting go, a tremendous sense of relief as you let go of these things that previously you might have fought to the death to defend. For many of you have been trained to defend and to argue for your limitations, but now is the time that you're realizing that arguing for the negativity that you experience and defending the right to feel negative, all of these are beginning to fall away as you get a sense, an inkling, a taste of freedom, of absolute freedom and revelation, and reveling in the true nature of your being, the true splendors of your beingnesses. So we encourage you, by all means, to use this process, use this time, use these feeling states, even though they may be negative feeling states. They are there to let you know that tightnesses are being generated by the beliefs that you are holding on to. Now, as the walls dissolve, you will perceive more of yourselves. Not only more of the negative portions of yourselves that you've hidden from yourselves, but also the various aspects of parallel existences, other potentialities, other lives simultaneously, concurrent lives in other times, in other places, lives in other civilizations. You will experience probabilities going backwards, as they say colloquially, in time, and forwards in time. So you will feel a definite relaxation of the old rules and regulations of the physical realm. You will notice this peeking into your art forms, into your movie forms, as it already has begun to do so. You are acclimatizing yourselves through your various reflective art forms for your personalities to, as it were, catch up to the transformations that have been ongoing for many decades within your time stream. So now is the time to look upon your personalities and realize that you are not just one personality, but your personality itself is composed of many portions. And this is why, due to the fragmentation and compartmentalizations, because the walls of your houses are so thick within, separating the rooms, you have the capacity to harbor in one personality portion many negative beliefs, and in another personality portion you might have a fairly positive outlook. And when you're in your positive outlook, it can be very easy to avoid experiencing the negative beliefs that you have tucked away in other portions of yourself. So we are encouraging the integration and not to gloss over as you have been trained, but to rather open up those rooms and take an active approach and get very curious when a certain feeling washes over you. You might feel some disappointment, disillusionment, perhaps some sadness, or maybe some frustration. Maybe you're feeling very angry about a particular reflection that you're seeing in your externalized reality. Follow those threads and ask yourselves, what are the beliefs that are being held on to? That will help to untether you. It will help to dissolve the walls that you have yourselves erected within the house of your beingness. You can take a very active role in this. Now, belief work is not something that is new. You have had many teachers and channelers speak on this before. However, because of the fragmented nature of personalities upon your world, it is very easy to absorb this material from one portion of your personality, but to not let it, shall we say, permeate through the walls to the other portions that are holding on to the very negative beliefs that you are reading about. And you can very easily pretend that you have gotten the material, whereas you're still harboring many negativities and remain blind to the fact that you are consistently on a daily basis experiencing emotions of separation, the acquired emotions that are generated by the very negative beliefs that you claim to have already gone beyond. So realize that the personality has many portions, many aspects to it, and this is a precursor to, this is a way to prepare for the experience of yourselves as a multifaceted, multidimensional being with many personalities that exist in many dimensions simultaneously. But before you can handle that degree of multiple personality order, you must first, on this dimensional level, in these personalities that are physically focused, make peace between all the parts of that personality structure. And that will be the way to prepare, that will be the precursor to experiencing yourselves as the multidimensional personality. Not only experiencing portions of yourself in this life, but spreading out into other lives, to other civilizations, across the universe, into parallel universes. So you must, as we say, do your, well, we don't use this term lightly, do your homework, as it were, but we would rather call it home play, because it can be a very playful process. It can, through your language, appear to be a very serious process, but there is no accident that the star system that you know is serious is associated with playfulness. So see that there are two sides of this coin, and this need not be a very serious topic. It can be a serious topic in the sense of a relationship to the star system of Sirius, which is all about playfulness and joyfulness and exuberance. It is not about being hard on yourselves, because that is you stepping sideways into the very negative beliefs that you are attempting to transform. So this is not about seriousness, it is about playfulness. But we do deliver this in a kind of energy that is designed to help to shake apart some of the complacency that is present upon your world. You are very much passing through a very important passageway. You're getting ready to make contact internally and externally with many dimensions and even different aspects of physical life from out there, shall we say, as well as from within here, because it is reflective. So we very much encourage each and every one of you to really roll your sleeves up and begin the process of opening the doorways within the walls that are themselves dissolving to all the portions of your personality self. Use whatever tools and permission slips will help you to make peace with all the portions of your personality. For this is a process of integration. No portion of your personality can possibly be excluded in a positive vibration, which is by definition integrative. So may it be all for one and one for all within your personality structure. No portions of the personality can be pushed out, as it were, or pushed into rooms or locked away in closets. Now, as you integrate yourselves on the personality level, so too will your society begin to integrate, for you are very much fragmented personality and also society. So the fragmentations and compartmentalizations on the outside will begin to heal themselves, because they will be reflecting the healing that has taken place within yourselves. Thus your social and political ideologies will be moving away from fragmentation, moving towards integration as you integrate yourselves. Now, you are given the choice to choose to stay fragmented, and you will recognize fragmentation by the energy that you experience when you're in fragmentation and separation and segregation. So you are given the freedom to experience that as well, and you will then shift to a version of Earth that will have the appropriate vibrational reflection of that reality that you are choosing. So none of this is enforced in any particular way, other than that by which it is encouraged from within for You have chosen the themes that are based on ultimate integration and harmonization. Thusly, it is our intention to continue to encourage each and every one of you to truly take ownership, to take stock, and to revel in the various portions of your own personalities, which, as we say, are precursors to being able to handle yourself as a multidimensional being with many aspects and many facets, peering into many dimensions. This is the journey of integration, and it begins, as you say, the 1,000-mile journey begins with the ground underneath your feet. So if you're experiencing disappointment, disillusionment, frustration, this is the step that you're on. This is exactly the curriculum. It is not an interruption in it. So always begin with where you are. Don't try to be somewhere else, and allow yourself to experience that feeling and ask yourself, what am I believing is true? And that feeling and that question, that curiosity will lead you to the room wherein you might have stored away some negative beliefs that have previously been invisible to you, and then you will be glad to find them, because otherwise, how can you transform something that is hidden away from you? So follow the step that you're on. If you're experiencing exuberant joy, enjoy that. If you're experiencing emotions of separation, by all means use that and get curious as to discovering another room, another portion, another hiding place within your personality that is generating that negative feeling. Rather than pointing to something on the outside and saying that made you feel something in a certain way, take ownership of that feeling and follow it to the source, which you will discover is within yourself. And this is a very joyful process. It can be very exciting to let those walls crumble down, open up some more breathing room, some more living space within your own house. You'll discover these personalities are quite large indeed, and they will continue to expand even as you dissolve the boundaries within them. And they will then thusly begin to contain and reflect aspects of multidimensional personality structure that is beyond the likes of which you have even begun to imagine is possible. To be physically focused and so multidimensionally aware, this is where your species is headed. As you unlock from the limitations that you have bought into, you will experience the exuberance of your beingness flowing and expanding and receiving transmissions of multidimensional natures. So we wish then at this timing to allow for the possibility of any interactions or questions and answers, and we of course remind to unmute your technology to ask the question, and then please re-mute yourselves afterwards. So are there any particular questions at this time?
I have a question.
Very good.
Good morning, Illi.
Good morning.
So, we had a discussion before the transmission about the current state of affairs in our physical world.
Yes.
That we're perceiving right now. And I just have to ask that in my physical world, with this pandemic going on, it seems like I've entered a crazy world somehow, and everything is opposite of the way I believe and the things that I've been taught, including medicine. So my mirror is kind of reversing itself into the world. Instead of me understanding it, I don't understand it because it doesn't conform anymore with most of the things that I believe to be true. So is there a way that I can change my reality and just leave this whole thing behind and go somewhere else?
Well,
it's really tiring.
First of all, you are changing your reality all the time. You are very much in a dream, and within this dream you can indeed become lucid. However, the paradox is that to transform your reality you must embrace that which you are experiencing. And if you are feeling tired and you're feeling perhaps frustrated or disappointed with the way things are, that is the very stepping stone that will provide the freedom that you are looking for. Because as you know, there are no accidents. There are no accidents as to what you're experiencing. Now, one way to tell is if you're having an emotional reaction to that which is happening, it means it is something within you that is connected to that. Now, if you're experiencing something and you're feeling neutral about it, you're living in this world and you're seeing, okay, there's a pandemic going on, but you're not feeling particularly weighed down by it, you're not feeling resistance, well then you know that you're simply experiencing many versions of Earth simultaneously, shall we say, and you're experiencing the reality that others are going through, but you are, in that case, then not necessarily buying into it. But if you're starting to feel that sense of resistance, a sense of negative emotion, it means there's a degree of resistance there. And now that means that the pandemic has become a very personal lesson for you, and one that you cannot push away. For the pushing away itself is the very negative energy that you are trying to get away from. So you see, negative energy itself is kind of like, well, it's kind of a funny analogy, but as a child, this channel played with these little things called the Chinese finger traps. And you put your finger in, and the more you tried to pull your finger out, the tighter the trap got. And so this image comes as a way to describe that as you try to pull away from this situation, you are actually ensnaring yourself even more into it. So the idea is to follow that frustration or the disappointment or perhaps just the tiredness that you experience and ask yourself, what are you believing is true? Because there might be a wall, a compartment that you want to be more enlightened, shall we say. Therefore, you're preventing yourself from seeing the way that you have bought into some negative beliefs. Because you want to be over here, but you're actually over here, but you're telling yourself you're over here, and so you can't see that you're actually over here. So the idea is to embrace where you are. And if you are being triggered by the pandemic, that is the gold that will help to release you from the situation. For there are no accidents. Now in this day, of course, you will see many experiences in your world. Doesn't mean that every single experience is a one-to-one reflection of exactly where you're at, but you can tell if you're being triggered by it in any particular way that that is the experience that is relevant for you to transform. For you are ultimately free, and yet you are buying into the illusion of bondage. In fact, you are so free you can choose bondage. That is how unconditionally free you are. And it is with the freedom that you choose the bondage, and so you can likewise unchoose the bondage and choose freedom. The universe will support you either way. So if you are experiencing limitation, well, it is because you have bought into that for various reasons. And the more you make peace with it, paradoxically, the faster you'll transform it, and the more you resist it, the slower it becomes, because you haven't gotten yet the lesson of this particular step, because you're trying to be somewhere else. So you cannot pass a class when you're trying not to be in the class at the same time. So as once was said to one of your beloved teachers, Ram Dass, by another channel, the idea is that you're in the schoolroom of Earth, so you might as well take the curriculum and trust that the curriculum that unfolds is the perfect one for you. Thusly, trying to change the curriculum is like trying to avoid the stepping stone that you are on now, and so then you invalidate your ability to move forward on your path. Does that make some kind of sense?
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense to me. Thank you.
Indeed. You are incredibly free. And yet you have chosen these experiences of limitations to learn, to grow, to experience. And you are awakening to that fundamental freedom from which you have constructed this entire reality. You are becoming more lucid in this dream. And taking physical reality as a dream, ask yourselves, what are the symbols? What do they represent? How does this relate to me? How am I manifesting this reality? You are creating it. Therefore, it is a matter of recognizing that creation and asking, why would I create this particular reality? What would I have to believe is true? Now, are there any other questions or clarifications? Then let us take a few moments to be here, to experience this transmission which is occurring, not only verbally, not only visually, but also on many levels and through many vibrations. Allow yourselves to feel this transmission in a variety of ways, through your silence and through the silence between the words as well as the words themselves. Allow the vibrations and the synchronicity of all sound and silence to communicate and reverberate. Allow yourselves to consider the physical life as a dream that you are crystallizing in every moment. In each moment you are recrystallizing your reality. Thus, trust the mechanisms of creation that are emerging from within you, and know that whatever is being created to reflect to you information that is necessary for your physically focused mind to experience and to grow from. Thus, through embracing the physical reality, you transmute and transform it. Allow this dream of physical reality to become a lucid dream, awakening to that moment-to-moment crystallization, and become very curious of each symbol, each dream portion, segment, for everything is symbolic on many levels. Even while it appears to be just plain old physical reality, each symbol has many reverberations and many layers of meaning. If you could but understand the multidimensionality of each of the objects within your physical lives, the symbols that you interact with on a daily level, it is absolutely astounding the calculations that are made. If you took all the computers in the world, you would have less than 1% of the capacity to calculate the calculations that are made for the placement of each object within your physical realities and their multidimensional connections to all your other lives occurring simultaneously. Each object thusly is imbued with this specialness and is intricately placed perfectly in your being, which you experience as your physical reality. Incredible calculations are made. Therefore, when you resist the way things are unfolding, it is actually quite humorous from other levels of consciousness when you recognize the astute calculations that are being made by you at other levels, and yet a portion of you is resisting that particular experience. It is quite funny indeed. And yet we understand that when you're experiencing the resistance itself, it can feel very, well, fragmented, and you feel very disconnected, and we understand the validity of those feelings. And we are with you, whether you feel our presence or not, because more often you will not feel our presence when you're feeling fragmented and segregated by definition, of course. But we are ever present. And you have but to let go of that belief in isolation and separation and segregation, and recognize that you are creating the very reality that you are passing through in each moment. And thusly you can then have access to these states within which your higher minds exist, within which we exist. We are ever present. Your reality, in a manner of speaking, emerges from the reality that we exist within. For you yourselves exist within this reality, and you have only projected yourselves to experience that reality which you yourselves crystallize all about you. So understand you have this tremendous capacity to awaken, and with those thoughts and with those vibrations and with those realizations and those seeds that will sprout in their own perfect timing, thusly we allow this transmission to come to its physical pause, even while the transmission itself is ongoing, for we never stop being who we are, and this transmission is who we are. And we are always broadcasting our signal of ourselves, even as you are. Even as your personalities might believe they are separated and not receive that signal, you are yourselves broadcasting your true being at all times. Because it is who you are. It is always there, underneath. So with that, then we will allow you to go in peace and understanding and love and in regeneration and awakening. And whatever blessings are ours to give, we give. And we encourage you to give yourselves the blessings that you deserve. For you are very worthy and deserving beings, worthy of absolute love and support. For that is who you are. We will then allow you to go about your days, and we will wish each and every one of you a fond, good and beautiful, loving day. All right. That was an earful.
Yeah, I feel like I'm that whole house, room, walls analogy. I'm in there.
I know. I really saw that. Yeah.
It's a good one, yeah. And that's why I was like, I couldn't even ask a question because I'm like, I'm still looking at walls and moving them and considering the possibilities.
Yeah, just
the freedom to do that.
Dissolving all. Yeah, I know. I really saw it, and I'm like, it's just it's another take on the cubicles and on the other stuff, the squares, the grids, but it's just like yet another analogy that's just like it locks it in or opens it up in a new way.
Well, and for me too, and I think we've talked about this, that the house, I've dreamt about being in houses, and the house can often feel like the person.
Mm-hmm.
So that the house is a more kind of, I was able to apply it, I saw it in a different way than seeing myself in a cubicle.
Yes.
I could see myself, in this very house going, wow.
Yeah.
Boo. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Especially the closets and the attics and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I
yeah. Well, and somebody was just talking about this on Sunday. They had been to the Winchester house.
Uh-huh.
And how many, she created all these hidden spaces and like walls between walls, like to supposedly confuse the ghosts.
Mm.
But when Illi was talking, I was like, oh, those places are why that house is still haunted. It's holding her negative energy.
Huh. I've never been there, but that would be a fun field.
Maybe we need to go.
I know.
The guy was talking about it was like, it's not worth the money you have to pay. But he was really struck with, wow, she was running away from ghosts all the time. Maybe she could have had a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have gone been so crazy. But that's what Illi reminded me of. Like, yes, in my very own house, I've got little boxes or spaces of stuff I still won't look at.
Yeah, me too. Yes. Basements and closets. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
You know,
Yeah.
I was getting more of the cubicle thing. Of course, I'm kind of gravitated towards that anyway. And being able to maybe rise, it's because I'm able to rise a little bit higher and see the interconnectedness of everything instead of just being on a linear plane that
Right.
makes me generate these questions. And then I discovered that I don't have to participate in any of it. I can just stay at home and watch it unfold around me and take any perspective I want of it.
Absolutely.
Rise up and look at it over here, down here, because I'm not actually a main player in the stage play right now of this.
Right. And then you can still...
Off on the wings, yeah.
And
Well, you can choose. It's like, do you want a part, or do you want a cameo, or do you want to be observing?
Right.
I'm in the balcony watching.
Watching, right, observing.
Right. And as we act on our passion, we'll find that we actually have a lot more freedom of mobility than we can be led to believe even. And also just that we might even be inspired to do something that will shift the energy of the particular manifestation we're looking at, or not. It might be our calling, might not, but we don't have to get negatively spun out about the way things are, because that's certainly not going to help in any case. You know what I mean?
But it seems like that, when that negative button is pushed, then it opens up, well, what are my choices? Where am I in this? How is this all? Whereas if I was just pedestrian in 3D, none of this would even be available to me. I
Right.
wouldn't even be aware of it.
Yeah, that's like realizing you have many squares you can step into rather than just like, oh, a button's pressed, therefore I'm going to be angry about this, or I'm going to react in this way. Yeah. Well, cool. So I will see you, each of you individually somehow. But thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you later.
All right. See you guys.